Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Razum Pereira. The Union Cabinet approved the 4th Labour Code, the Code on Social Security Bill 2019 on Wednesday. The bill seeks to consolidate the laws relating to social security of workers and subsume 8 central laws. Last month, the Cabinet had approved the Industrial Relations Code Bill of 2019, which is the 3rd code, which was later introduced in the Lok Sabha. The Code on Wage, which is the first code, has already been approved by Parliament. The Code on Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions, the second code, has already been introduced in the Lok Sabha and later sent to a standing committee for review. This would be pushed for the passage in the budget session after the committee's report submission in the House. Now, the Social Security Code will subsume 8 central labour acts, namely Employees Compensation Act of 1923, Employees State Insurance Act of 1948, Employees Provident Funds and Miscellaneous Provisions Act of 1952, Maternity Benefit Act of 1961, Payment of Gratuity Act of 1972, Cine Workers Welfare Fund Act of 1981, Building and Other Construction Workers Cess Act of 1996 and Unorganized Workers Social Security Act of 2008. On this edition of The Big Picture, we will take a closer look at the Code on Social Security Bill of 2019. Joining me on the program today are Subhash Chandra Pandey, former Special Secretary, DIPP, A.K. Bhattacharya, Editorial Director of the Business Standard, and Shankar Agarwal, former Secretary, Ministry of Labour and Employment. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. Mr. Agarwal, let me start the program with you. Let's first try and understand and analyze and understand the Code on Social Security Bill 2019.
You see, as you have said in your introductory remarks, most of these laws were created way back in 20s, 30s, 40s, 60s, 70s. And these codes were created, these laws were created in conformity and in line with the requirement of the workers at that point of time. Things have changed dramatically thereafter, and we got to look into each of these laws again. An idea is to cover each and every worker with a very robust social security net. On the other hand, we got to create situations for the employer so that these laws do not become an hindrance in creating new employment opportunities. Somehow, many of these laws have got very archaic kind of a problem, an archaic provision, which basically creates hurdles for the employer to create new employment opportunities. On the other hand, even the workers find it very difficult to get the benefit of social security in time and efficiently and without any hassle and without paying any bribe to the official. And that is what we had tried to create an environment where the workers and the employers, they will come together and they will be able to take this implementation forward in a win-win situation.
Okay, all right. Mr. Bhattacharya, let me bring you into the picture now. Okay, let's take the issues raised by Mr. Agarwal forward. Now, he spoke about how some of these acts that the code is going to subsume now are archaic. Times have changed, so we need a new law really to deal with some of the new issues that have arisen. So, is this the first big and the right step in ensuring maximum social security for our workforce?
Well, I mean, what Mr. Agarwal said, he's absolutely right. I think the social safety or the social security net related labor laws had indeed become a little outdated, if I may use that expression. For example, there was no provision for ensuring that the share economy, which is the gig economy, those workers to get insured under these laws. They were not covered. Or let's take the plantation sector or the platforms, various platforms that you have and their employees are working there.
For instance, Ola, Uber.
Ola, Uber, share economy, e-commerce platform.
Yeah, Swiggy.
Now, how do you ensure that, and the number of people these outfits are employing are increasing day by day. Now, actually, if there is any job increase in the economy, it is these sectors which are seeing the growth. But it is these employees, a Swiggy delivery boy is not covered under the law. Now, this social safety or security net, for the first time, brings them under the insurance provision of the law.
Since we're talking about who's going to be under the ambit of the law, are people like us going to be under the ambit of the law?
Yes, absolutely.
Consultants?
Yes, absolutely. Because the moment you have, let us say you have a 5-year period, even if it is a contract, you come under the gratuity law now. So I think the ambit of this social security code is truly large, and it covers not only the number of employees which an organization has. If it is more than 10, it will come under the social security laws. Those 8 laws will come under them. If it is a hazardous industry, it is, let us say, if it is a person who is doing some welding work, contract work. Now, there's a hazardous job. Now, even he is entitled to the coverage under insurance provisions, the ESIC or EPFO laws. So, I think this actually plugs a huge gap, and as we grew, the economy diversified, the labor laws had not been updated. Now, can you imagine the 44 different laws? Now, they are now into 4 laws. So, simplification is another major element of this change.
Sure.
That from 44 laws, you have got only 4 codes.
Right.
In this case, you have said 8 laws become only one code.
Yeah.
So, I think simplification, and there is one more element before I end at this stage is Mr. Agarwal talked about how the regulatory regime will now be less regressive or less problematic for the employers and the employees. An inspector under the new code cannot open the EPF records more than 5 years before. Earlier, an inspector entering the premises of a company could come and say, I want to see 40 years ago your EPF records. Now, how do you go about it? So, now at least the income tax says that 7 years and before, I don't want to look into it. So, this one is even more progressive, saying 5 years is what you need to keep your records for, and that's good enough for me to check whether you have complied under the law or not. And finally, I would say that the Gratuity Act, which is now going to cover even the fixed term employees. Now, earlier the government had notified the introduction of fixed term employees, but had said that fixed term employees in any sector will also be covered under gratuity and other statutory dues. Now, this Social Security Code actually provides for that gratuity as well as insurance and EPFO will cover the short term or the fixed term employees as well. So, I think it's a brave attempt, probably the least controversial. There is one part of this which is slightly controversial, which we can come discuss later.
Right, sure. So, Mr. Pandey, from the economic standpoint of view, how important is it to get rid of some of these old archaic laws, come out with new laws which are, which are time tested and which are relevant to the times right now?
Frank, if you see the labor market, both in terms of nature of employment and geographically, it is highly fragmented. And the attempt to codify 44 labor laws into 4 thematic codes still leaves some of those fragmentations intact. There is a big positive in terms of extending the coverage to fixed term employment and gig economy workers. But still, the code, as we see, we have yet to see what was the draft that was published, and after the comments, what is the final version of the bill that will be coming. But from the reports that we understand, is that the code still has 2 different sets of regulatory regimes and provisions. one for organized workers and another for unorganized workers. So, gig economy workers will fall under unorganized workers, but some provisions of the gratuity, etc., could be at the borderline. So, one is this distinction, organized and unorganized, and taking put it in a larger context. You are aware that we are talking about improving consumption in the economy and improving job creation and formalization and digitalization as a way to do this. But what are the barriers to formalization? There is a very high degree of barrier which is resulting in these jobs remaining informal. And in this new code also, the legislative ceiling is built into the law, 12% employee contribution, 12% employer contribution. That is something that requires a look, because added to other levies, the overall overheads of these payroll levies goes to 40–45% over here. And therefore, that is a big barrier to formalization. There have been discussions about at least removing the employee contribution part of it to improve the take-home salary of the worker. That has not happened, but I personally feel there is a case for reducing these payroll levies burden, so reduce this and promote formalization. The second is, when you consolidate 8 laws in a single layer, there is a lot of matters of detail get rationalized and come on a common fore. But still some special segments continue as different chapters, like construction workers, because there is a cess fund and there is a Supreme Court monitored system is in place something. So therefore, that has been put as a special chapter. So this eventually the test will be when there is an integrated, and this distinction organized and unorganized goes narrower, and there is truly a single regime governing all workers.
Absolutely. All right. Taking the discussion forward. Oh, yes, Mr.
I want to
Bhattacharya.
add to what Mr. Pandey very correctly pointed out. There is a provision, I have gone through parts of this new code, there is a provision under it by which the employee's share can be brought down from 12% as of now. But the employer's share has been kept at 12%, so that the employers are still obliged
To pay that.
Thing for, again, this is probably the only social security money that an employee collects, and it is completely tax free.
Right.
So therefore, the government in its wisdom has thought that let the employer's share be pegged at 12% minimum, and the employees, if it so desires, if the employee so desires, can bring it down from 12% to increase his or her take-home
salary.
I have an issue there. I think, although I disagree with Mr. Pandey there, I think the contribution to the EPF at 12% and 12% is actually, and since it is a tax-free contribution, it is probably the best possible old age social security lump sum money that you get at the end of your working life. So reducing it is probably making the young employees feel good, but when same young employee grows old, he might regret his decision to have reduced his contribution, because what he gets at the end of his working life as a lump sum money will be less than what it would be if he had to contribute 12%.
Okay, all right, all right. Taking the discussion forward now and looking at, as a whole at all the 4 labor codes, Mr. Agarwal, how and in what way are the 4 labor codes going to help the labor workforce as a whole?
You see, number one, today there is general apathy towards labor laws. Employers are so allergic to the labor rules, regulation and laws that many a time they desist from setting up a new enterprise. Idea is to create more and more jobs in this country, because you can get the prosperity at every level only when you create decent and respectful jobs. And that can happen only when the environment is conducive for that particular objective. So many of these laws were created for the welfare of the worker, but somehow while we were implementing these labor laws, lot of discrepancies crept in, and lot of intermediaries and the government officials, they were using these laws to further their personal objectives and personal goals. And moreover, for any employer to adhere to these 44 labor laws has become very, very difficult. So we thought that it's a good idea to consolidate all these 44 labor laws so that it becomes simpler, number one. Number two, where there is some kind of a contradiction, say in the definition of wages, in the definition of worker, so let's remove all such contradictions, number two. Number three, let us create a regime which will give very good protection to the workers and which will further the welfare of our workers. And what do they want basically when we are talking about the social security? They want that in case of an accident, they are taken care of, their families are taken care of. In case of a death, they get some good money so that the family can survive. In case of wedding or house construction, they must have some sufficient fund. In case of some disease, they should be able to get access to good quality health services without bothering about the expenditure. And this is what has been done. Under EPFO, he gets protection against death, he gets protection against old age, and he gets some kind of a pension. Similarly, in case of a disease or in case of some accident, he gets coverage, and a very decent coverage under ESIC. And his treatment can cost even 1 crore rupees, but the entire money will come from the ESIC and the worker doesn't have to pay anything. So that is one part. But while implementing this, there are a lot of shortcomings. These the contribution by the employer and the employee, that was not getting credited. But today if you go to EPFO, everything gets credited within no time, and on the third or fourth day the employee gets some kind of an SMS which tells you that so much money has been credited in your account.
Right.
Secondly, it was very difficult to transfer the money when they were changing their jobs from one employee to another employee. Today it's seamless kind of a thing. And third, ultimately when they wanted to withdraw the money, it was again very difficult, and there was a lot of corruption. Today that has been taken care of. Now, as has been said by one of the speakers, that today the inspectors are creating a chaos. And they have created an environment of fear. Idea is that the inspector should work as a facilitator rather than being some kind of a menace. So what has been done? That they will not ask for details and information which is not really required. It should be very simple. Idea is to encourage people to adhere to these laws. Idea is to give facilities and incentives and benefits to the worker, while it is being ensured that the employers do not get hassled with complex labor laws, the tardy implementation, and that has been done. I am very, very sure, and I started actually all these reforms, and most of these provisions had been created by me by spending many hours with all stakeholders, and I am sure that once it gets approved by the competent authority, that means the parliament, it will become the law of the land, and it will create an environment where the workers will feel safer, they'll feel protected, and they'll get all the benefits in a very seamless kind of a manner. On the other hand, even the employees will get encouraged to set up more and more enterprises, to take up entrepreneurial activities and create many more jobs.
Okay, all right. So, Mr. Pandey, let me bring you into the picture now. So, on a priority scale, how important is it for us to get these 4 labor codes in place?
It should have been latest by yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, it is already overdue. So,
and going forward, do you see any kind of challenges? Because, there have been some labor unions already who have said that, they do not want to have certain aspects, as part of the final bill and so on and so forth. So, what kind of challenges do you foresee?
You see, even at the draft stage, there was a provision for giving an option to switch from EPF to NPS, and also from exiting ESIC. What the reports I see is that these two options, exit options, are being taken out. So if we don't have this kind of a thing, then probably it will be the same old template continuing, of which I have already raised some reservations. You see, in terms of a social security product market, there is a tremendous fragmentation, and particularly the products that depend on the insurance component, the fragmentation is only works to the against the interest of the worker. You would have seen recently the Niti Aayog come up with a paper on the health insurance market and how the fragmentation of the market is affecting the overall outcome. I personally believe that the interoperability or convergence of social security product is a fundamental reform, which at this moment this is more about procedural cleaning up. As rightly pointed out, inspector is now to be inspector cum facilitator, which is good. But the fundamental reform is about whether the statutory levies are so high as to discourage employers from enrolling them on the formal listing. So if in certain segments, forget about Delhi metros and in Mufassil towns, if you can get a worker from 10 to 15,000 rupees per month, why would you have for 25 to 30,000 rupees? And that is the way. In terms of a tax-free contribution or accumulation, say, we are talking of a segment of workers with a pay range of 15,000 rupees per month or low. So in any case, they are not really in the tax net. So I would again consider it as fundamental to bring some sort of a convergence, both in terms of a coverage of social security scheme and also in terms of a particular product. So say for example, we have Atal Pension Yojana for a set of workers, and if you compare what kind of a contributions and benefits vis-a-vis say contributions and benefits to the EPFO system, the results will be startling.
Okay, all right, Mr. Bhattacharya. So as far as the Social Security Code is concerned, are there any sections of the workforce that you see not being covered?
Well, you know, there are 2 or 3 things that have been covered in this, the Social Security Code. I already mentioned about the gig economy, which is a large thing. And the second thing that has been covered is that all the unorganized sector employees will now be covered under a unique identity number, which is linked to the Aadhaar. So this is probably the first attempt at covering the unorganized sector employees, which by their very number are larger than the organized sector employees. So I think that is a big step, and it will be a humongous task also to how to cover this unorganized sector employees into the actually a kind of a formalized workforce with an UIN which is linked to Aadhaar. You raise the issue about how trade unions will react to it. My sense is that the trade unions may well welcome this code in particular, because this actually widens the coverage and their writ on the workers. Right now, India's trade unions mostly focus on a shrinking organized sector labor force. This code, by widening the ambit of the labor code, that the labor who is a labor employee who will be covered under the various social security laws, is actually giving a larger platter for the trade unions to work on. Finally, I would say that this code, once again, what it points out is something very, very important for the unorganized as well as the organized sector employee. If an employee meets with an accident while reaching his office or reaching home from his office, now insurance under the law earlier were not covering it.
Right.
This code essentially makes sure that an employee who is reaching home after work from office or trying to reach office from home and he meets with an accident, insurance ESIC will cover him earlier. At present, it is not covered. So I think it is a good mix. It can certainly be improved upon,
Right.
and I'm sure this will go into the standing committee of parliamentarians once it is going to be represented again in the budget session. But as a starting point, I think this is a good move forward.
Sure.
Notifications as a way probably is questionable because right now what happens, the threshold coverage for EPF and ESIC is decided under the law.
Right.
But this code makes it operable through notifications.
Sure.
So I think that's something which will be debated and discussed in Parliament, I'm sure. But this is
Absolutely.
something that needs to be looked into.
Certainly. All right. Quick closing comments now from all my guests. I'm going to ask you to be brief because I've got limited time on the program with the best way forward. Starting first with you, Mr. Agarwal.
I think it's a very, very big, rather a giant step in the direction of reforms. Unless we bring in reforms and big ticket reforms in the labor and land sector, it will not be possible to create many more jobs. And this is also giving a very robust and very efficient coverage of social security to each and every worker. An attempt has been made, and a big attempt has been made to bring workers of the unorganized sector under a social security scheme.
Okay.
On the other hand, it gives a lot of respite to the employer from the rigidity of laws and from the whims and wishes of law enforcement agencies.
All right. Mr. Pandey?
Yeah. No, this is a very, very welcome step, overdue step on a simplification of procedures and unburdening the Inspector Raj and making a facilitator. But more substantive reforms would be required in the operative part of this thing there.
Okay. All right. And Mr. Bhattacharya?
Well, my simple short comment would be that this code takes labor reforms from the manufacturing sector space to the services sector, and I think this transition to cover the services sector, because the extensions and the changes that have been sought in the security code is actually covering a large segment of the services sector, the gig economy, the plantations. So therefore, I think it's a move whose impact will be felt over time in the services sector, which is accounting for the largest sector of India's GDP.
Absolutely. All right. On that note, then we'll call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. What's coming out of this discussion is that it's a welcome and a big step forward as far as labor reforms are concerned. There is scope for a lot more to be done. The impact of these 4 labor codes, once they are in place, of course, is going to be felt for a long time, but much more needs to be done along with this to ensure that we have a robust workforce and robust labor reforms is what the panelists are suggesting. With that, it's a wrap from me. See you again next time.